guys, welcome to Cooking with Essential Oils with me, Chef Brandon. So you might be wondering, why am I talking about essential oils with cooking? So I am a wellness advocate with doTERRA. I've been involved for almost 3 years, and I also am a chef. I am a certified American Culinary Federation certified chef, and I worked at San Bernardino Valley College for about 5 years teaching students about cooking, the basics and all of that good stuff. And I learned about essential oils while I was at the school, so I learned how to start experimenting with essential oils. So we are going to talk today how you can use essential oils in your cooking, how they can not only enhance the taste of the food that you're cooking, but also increase the healthful properties. So not to disappoint you, but we're not going to be doing any fancy, demonstrations with fire or anything. This is a basics cooking class. So we'll talk about how you can introduce the oils into your cooking and some different ways, unique ways that you can, and some different carrier options that you can use to introduce those oils. Okay, so I am going to be using a PowerPoint here behind me, as well as a reference. Okay, so this PowerPoint is adapted from the doTERRA website. You can get it under advocates and presentations and classes, and it's cooking with oils. And I've adapted it just slightly. And then I'm also going to be referencing this tear sheet, which I don't know if it's still available, but it has a lot of really good information. So you can always reach out to me and I can always send you a picture of it, okay? It also has all of the different oils that we can use on the back. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's go ahead and jump into it, okay? All right, so we're going to start with the basics. So what are essential oils? Hopefully at this point you know what essential oils are, but we're going to cover it just real quick. So essential oils are natural extracts that come from plants. They can come from any part of the plant, whether it's the leaves, the stems, the bark, the roots, and you can actually get multiple oils from the same plant. For instance, cassia and cinnamon bark are from the same plant, but two different oils with slightly different properties and definitely different flavor profiles. A lot of people would ask, why would we use oils when we have herbs? So I'm never going to discourage anybody from using fresh herbs. I'm a chef, so I know how valuable fresh herbs can be. But oftentimes it's difficult to find them in season where we're at, especially our friends up in Alaska might have a difficult time getting the fresh herbs. So essential oils can be an awesome alternative or just an enhancement. So you can use the essential oils, you can use the fresh herbs and then use the essential oils to even magnify that effect, okay? So what I always tell people is to think about the dried herbs. There's a reason why the herbs are dry, because they've already taken all of the good stuff, all of the essential oils out of them and bottled them up in these nifty jars for us and for you to take part in. So we might as well use those. And finally, when you are cooking with essential oils, you need to think about the certification and the purity and the potency of the oils. So all of the oils from doTERRA are certified pure therapeutic grade. They all have that seal right on the bottle. I don't know if you can see that there, but what that means is that they go through extensive testing to make sure that they're pure, they're potent, they're free of toxins, they have no pesticides, and that they have the chemistry that we're looking for. So they're going to taste always the same way, and they're going to provide the healthful benefits. Okay, so that covers the basics of essential oils. Now let's jump into it. Okay, so different ways that we can use essential oils: aromatically, topically, and internally. So A, aromatically, T, topically, and internally. So you might be wondering, well, we're going to be cooking with oils. Why do we need to know this? We want to make sure you're going to have oils in your house already to cook with, so you might as well know how to use them as well, right? So aromatically means we can just take the lid off and smell them right out of the bottle, like this. Or you can put it 1 or 2 drops in your hand and rub your hands together and cup your hands and just take a big breath in, and that will automatically get that flowing into your body. So now why will we use them aromatically? So we can use oils aromatically to change a mood or enhance a mood. We can use it to, induce relaxation or something like that. Or also for our lungs. So we have a great oil, Breathe, which we don't use for cooking, but is great for lungs. Just opens everything up. If you have any kind of breathing difficulties, or you can also use it as a preventative during exercise. It just keeps everything opened up. Then topical just means right on the skin. So the ones that we use most often topically are ones like Deep Blue, that's great for tension. So you just put it right where you're having the issue, the tension that you're looking for. And the reason why we use that is for specific things, okay? So if I have some tension in my shoulders, I'm gonna use it on my shoulders. Then lastly, and the one we're gonna focus on today, is internally. So the way that you know if they can be used internally is, we'll try and get this close enough so that you can see the supplemental facts. You see, even if you can't tell that there are the word supplemental facts on there, there's a big rectangle with a big white outline. That says supplemental facts. That's how you know which oils can definitely be used internally. Now, just because they can be used internally doesn't mean they're gonna taste good, okay? So we're gonna talk about the different oils that will taste good as you use them. But why would you wanna use them internally? So it can be for specific like stomach issues. So we have some great oils that can help us, peppermint, ginger, that will help us with our stomach. So whether it's indigestion, upset stomach, gas, bloating, all of that fun stuff, before or after eating, then we can use it for that. And there's so many that have just great properties for our bodies. So that's what we're gonna focus on today. So it can be as easy as just adding it to your water, or which we're gonna talk about, add it to our cooking. Okay, so why cook with essential oils? So the first thing that we talked about is adding additional flavor. So if you've ever made a lemon meringue pie or an orange loaf cake or something like that, you can tell I love pastries as well. But oftentimes we're asked to use zest, and that is the actual skin of the lemon or the orange in addition to the juice. So the oils can be similar to that. So like the lemon oil that we have, you're gonna use that as you would zest. So it's not going to replace the juice. Remember that. These have no acid in them. So if you're using them in a marinade or a dressing, you still have to add that acid. So it's really just gonna enhance that flavor. So if you're making like an orange chicken, you're gonna use the wild orange and it's just gonna step that up. It's just like using zest from an orange. Then the internal use benefits, like we alluded to earlier, so there's so many of the oils that are good for so many different things. So there's no way that I could go through all of them, but we have ones like On Guard, which aren't even typically used for cooking, but can be used. It's great like a pumpkin spice, and that's gonna boost your immune system. So you can use it as a preventative or as a reactive if you're starting to feel under the weather. But you can get all of those benefits in your cookies. Or if you're trying to go more healthy, your vegan cookies, okay? You can add your oils to that. Then they're also safe and natural, of course, with our certified pure therapeutic grade. That makes them safe. And they're convenient. You don't have to worry about them going bad in your cupboards. You can use them in your cooking day to day, and then of course use them just like they were your medicine cabinet as well. Oh, okay. So is cooking with essential oils safe? Yes. They have been using essential oils forever to enhance flavor and to preserve ingredients, okay? And essential oils are already part of our diet. So because they come from plants, when we eat basil, we get essential oil. So they're already in our diet. This is just concentrated in a pure form. And of course, being certified pure therapeutic grade, they are high quality, well-tested, safe, okay? There are some essential oils that should not be used internally, like we talked about before. So if they don't have that supplemental facts on the side, then you wouldn't want to use them. So let's say Breathe or Deep Blue, one of those don't want to be used. There's also another list here. So most of these are oils that come from wood, so that's kind of a good way to remember. So arborvitae, cedar wood, cypress, Douglas fir, eucalyptus, spikenard, white fir, or wintergreen. Those ones you don't, are just a few that you don't want to use in cooking. There are many, many that you can use, but this is a short list of ones you wouldn't want to use. Okay, things to remember. So we're going to talk about essential oils and heat, cookware, and then measuring tips, okay? So when we're thinking about the essential oils, we need to be careful when we're using heat. Heat can take away the healthful properties of the oil, okay? So if we have to put them in at the beginning of the process, like say we're gonna do brownies. So we have these amazing brownies. I like thick, chewy brownies. So these are brownies that we put wild orange in. Now you're gonna obviously put the wild orange into the batter right before you put it in the oven, but it's gonna be baking the entire time with the wild orange in there. So it's gonna take away some of the flavor and some of the healthful properties. So you wanna make sure that you add extra, okay? Now, the first time you do it, you wanna be careful because many of the oils are very strong. So it's always better to go on the lower end and then experiment and taste it, and then next time you can always add more. But write it down so you don't forget. This one, this is the Cheaters brownies. It's a box brownie. I always like to start with convenience items because that's what a lot of us use. So this is a box brownie, just one small. These are Ghirardelli brownies, and I used 5 drops of wild orange in this, and it's perfect. Now you might have a different taste, so experiment and try it out, okay? So when we're just cooking on the stove, we want to try and add them as late in the process as possible. So like I mentioned, the orange chicken or just orange vegetables, we want to try and add them at the end of the process, or if we're adding like lemon to a lemon butter sauce, add it at the end of the process, and that maintains the flavor and the healthful properties, okay? So I made corn the other day, corn on the cob, just boiled it on the stove, and after the corn was done, turned off the water, dropped a couple drops of lime in there, and let it sit for a couple of minutes so that the corn could absorb that lime, and it was delicious, okay? So you can be as simple as that. You just want to add it at the end of the process. Now, we also want to be cognizant of the cookware that we're using. So typically, the rule of thumb is to never use plastic when you're using essential oils. If you use plastic, because they're a petroleum base, the lemon oil, the citrus oils especially, any of the essential oils can pull the nasty chemicals out of the plastic that we do not want to consume. So typically in water bottles and things, they're fine. They stay in there as long as we're using BPA free. They stay in the plastic. But when we put oils in them, it can actually leach it out. So we don't want those things in our products. So it's best to use glass or ceramic or stainless steel. And then finally, when we're thinking about measuring, these are our very best friends. Toothpicks, okay? So when we look at toothpicks, they fit perfectly right in the top of the bottle. Then you can just turn it over, and then I don't know if you'll be able to tell in the camera, but it's just saturated at the tip, so that's much less than a drop of oil. So because these oils are so pure and potent, you have to be very careful. 1 drop of oregano can ruin 1 can of sauce. So you don't want to go there. You just use a toothpick, then mix that in your sauce, taste it, and then you can always add more, okay? That's what I always recommend. Now, the citruses, they're not as potent, so you don't have to worry quite as much. And if you're doing a large batch, then of course you can put a drop in and then see where it goes from there. And then taste and adjust. Okay, now in the PowerPoint we have a couple that are super potent. Like I said, the oregano, the basil, the cassia, the cinnamon bark, The clove, cumin, and thyme are also very potent. Cilantro is another one that is very potent. So you just want to use a little bit of the oil. Okay, so you want to start with that toothpick and then you can always add more. All right, so next we're going to kind of look at the flavors of the essential oils. So we can look at this, and it might be kind of small for you. We can drop this in the notes down below if you'd like. But basically what this is that citrus oils, so your lemon, your lime, your tangerine, your wild orange, those are great in beverages. So you can just drop it in your water, you can put it in tea, you can use them in cocktails if you like that. Baked goods, yogurt adds a great flavor to your yogurt. If you have a nice Greek yogurt, instead of having to add sugar, you can just add a little bit in your yogurt. Dips, salsas, and you use it as a zest, okay? Then the spices, so we have the cinnamon, the anise, the lemongrass. We have a lot of different ones that are in the spice category. You can use that for vegetables, meat marinades, and sweet and savory dishes. You can, On Guard would also fit in there because it has cinnamon bark, clove, wild orange in it as well. And then herbs, so we have rosemary, thyme, cilantro. Those are great in Italian dishes, of course, meat marinades, soups, bread. So you can drop these because they don't have any acid in them. You can drop it right into your homemade bread recipe and it's delicious, okay? Potatoes, pasta, and then of course substitute for those dry herbs or the fresh herbs that we may not be able to have access to. Then we have our florals. Yes, florals can be used in cooking and baking. So we have like lavender. What are our other florals? Bergamot. Lavender is the most common one that comes to mind as far as the florals. So those ones can also be used in desserts. They're great in teas. Again, baked goods. And then it's used to soften the citrus flavors. So if you have something that's very heavy on lemon, like a lemon loaf, you can use lavender to kind of balance out that tartness. And then finally we have mint, we have spearmint and peppermint. And that's great in beverages, desserts, salads, and certain meats. So again, like I use the brownies in my peppermint in my brownies, I also like peppermint in my green tea. So there's many ways, or your coffee, whichever you prefer. Those are a couple easy ways that we can use it. All right, so essential oil recipes. So there are a couple of really basic ways that we can use the oils. So on this sheet, I'm gonna be using this kind of middle section here. It talks about carriers. So when you're talking about essential oils, when we're using them on our bodies, we will use a carrier oil like almond oil, fractionated coconut oil is the most common that is used. Olive oil. Carriers in cooking, there are several that we can use. So we can use salt, for instance. We can use sugar. We can use an oil, whether it's an olive oil or an avocado oil. I highly recommend an avocado oil because there's no flavor in the avocado oil. So the only flavor that it's going to have is what you introduce to it. Now, if you're using it as an alternative to butter, say with your bread, a lot of people like to just dip their bread in an olive oil with balsamic. So this, you can actually introduce the oils, the essential oils, into the olive oil so that you get that other flavor in there. So all we have to do if we're going to do like a salt, so we have salt already poured in here, we can add whatever flavors we want to it. So, and you can even mix this ahead of time. You just want to kind of let it dry out a little bit before you put it away. And then of course we want to put it away in a glass container or ceramic or whatever you have. So, or stainless steel. So we're going to add a couple of drops right into our salt. Now remember, usually we want to kind of back off and not use too much. Now for our salt, because we don't put a lot of salt in our food, or we shouldn't be, we want to add extra oil to the salt so that we get that flavor, because we're only going to put, a pinch of salt. So you can add it right into your salt, mix it up, and then you can use that to flavor your different whatever it might be, whether it's, so we roasted some nuts here ahead of time, so you can use that to enhance the flavor. Now you do want to make sure and do it while it's still warm, whether it's roasted vegetables or meat, whatever you're cooking, do it while it's still warm so that it sticks to the product that you're cooking, okay? And you can use multiple oils as well. So if you want to have lime and cilantro in your salt, do it. Experiment with it. You can have like flavors that are frequently used in Asian cuisine. So there's lemongrass and star anise, the kind of like Thai flavors. You can put that in your salt and then have that type of flavoring. Whatever you want, you can do. Same thing with your sugar. So if you use sugar in your coffee or tea or whatever things that you use sugar in, you can do the same thing. So you can add wild orange into your sugar, and then when you add that to your coffee or tea, it's gonna just infuse that flavor. You can also, if you don't do sugar, you can also do honey, agave, liquid stevia, any kind of sweetener that you use, okay? Or, of course, you can just add it right into your beverage of choice. So here we have a green tea that we used. So you can just add, just like normal, however much you're gonna drink. And like I said earlier, I love my peppermint in green tea. So then you would just take your toothpick and add just a little bit of peppermint and taste it, of course. And that's all it takes. I know it seems crazy that that's enough, but it really is, I promise. So use just a little bit when you start. Now, as you get used to the oils, you may want that nice, like strong lung opening from the peppermint. Yes, you can breathe it in and it's delicious. So that's another option. So then we also have a plethora of options when we do oil, okay? So we have, here we have avocado oil. Again, one of my favorites. Good friends of mine gave me this oil, so thank you to them. And we can use this oil as a carrier, and then we can enhance marinades. We can enhance anything that we would add oil to. So our marinades, our vinaigrettes are excellent with a nice oil, and then we can add the different essential oils in and experiment. You can make a nice wild orange vinaigrette with just simply oil, vinegar, and wild orange. So that kind of is the different carriers that you can use. So I know we've been talking a lot about different things that people might want to stay away from. So you can add essential oils to salt, sugar, oil, but what else can you do? We did talk about honey and agave and stevia, liquid stevia. There's also other options. You can simply add it to water. So like when we roasted these almonds, as you're taking them right out of the oven when they're still nice and hot, you could add essential oils to water and then a spray bottle. Again, remember it's glass or metal spray bottle. Shake it up and then spray that on as soon as they come out of the oven. The water's going to evaporate off, but the essential oil will stay on. So you get this nice hint of flavor on your roasted nuts, your roasted vegetables, whatever you're looking for, and you get the healthful properties of the oil without having to add any salt or sugar or anything to it. One of the other things that I love is Bragg's liquid amino acids. Tastes a little bit like, or it tastes a lot like soy sauce, but it doesn't have all the salt that soy sauce has in it. So it comes in a convenient pump. Now remember, that's a plastic pump, so you'd want to use something different. But you can put it, even doTERRA has glass spray bottles that you can buy, and you can add a little bit of the liquid amino acids and then add your different essential oils. Whether you want to continue that Asian flavor, you could even go like on the fruit side and do wild orange. You could do a lemon or a lime with that, and it would almost have like a sweet and savory together. You could do a cinnamon. That might be interesting with a soy sauce and a cinnamon. Or you could just stick with like traditional Asian flavors, ginger, star anise, what's the other one I'm trying to think of? Oh, lemongrass. So you can just kind of experiment with it, but you don't necessarily have to add salt or sugar in order to use these. Okay, that's an important thing that I want you to know. There are a couple of recipes on here that if you want them, like one of the traditional French herbs is herbe de Provence, and you can actually make a Provence seasoning salt, so it has all the herbs that would go into that. There's a couple simple vinaigrette recipes. Vinairette's really basic. It's 3 parts oil to 1 part vinegar, and then you can add your different flavorings, so your different essential oils and your onions or whatever you want to flavor with. Then on the back here, it talks about all the different oils that you can get. Now this one is actually a little bit outdated. It talks about 22 different oils that can be used. So what's amazing in doTERRA is there's so many that can be used. Okay, so now we can jump into a couple of other recipes that are great. You could pretty much use essential oils in any of your recipes. Just experiment with them. The biggest thing that I always tell people is don't be afraid to use them. If it doesn't taste good, then you can just try something else, right? So again, though, use just a little bit. So we have a couple. There's one up here on the board or on the presentation that is a beverage, so you can throw them in your smoothies to enhance that flavor. There's different ones that we can use in marinades. We have definitely some different oils, a lot of the herb ones. So on here we have basil. We do have a black pepper oil that can be very nice. Cardamom, cilantro, cumin, fennel, ginger, lemon. So you can see there's a lot of different ones that you can introduce into marinades. Baked goods, they're great in baked goods. Like I said, the peppermint and the brownies, but you can also use On Guard in your apple pie to give you an excuse to eat apple pie. So it's gonna build your immune system at the same time as you get that yummy sweet treat. Soups, salads, dips, and salsas. Any of those you can of course add them to. So your dressings, very easy. You can make, in the picture here, we have a simple dip for your bread like we talked about earlier. Then of course, salads. I know this is very tiny and you probably can't see it, but this is a nice strawberry salad, strawberry almond salad, where they did a raspberry lime vinaigrette, and of course the lime is our lime oil. Here we're making the sugars and the salts that we talked about earlier. So they recommend for your Italian seasoning blend, you can do thyme, marjoram, oregano, or rosemary, or you can do all of them. They combine nicely together. Okay, so that is pretty much all we're going to talk about today. So we do have so on this one it shows 22 different oils. There are even more than that. This is a little bit outdated. There are many oils, and some that have been introduced recently, like our turmeric oil. This one is great to cook with. You can kind of experiment with it. We even added it to deviled eggs, and it gave it this nice smoky flavor that was delicious. But this one is amazing for anti-inflammatory as well. So I always recommend having this one around your house and using it frequently. Not just in your cooking, but just in your daily life. So there are no specific cooking sets, but it's very easy for you to be able to develop your own. Just drop them all in the cart, and then you can kind of play with them. I always recommend to go under collections, because sometimes you can get some that are a little bit less expensive if you really want to try some different things. Now these are your basics. So the intro kit comes with peppermint, lemon, and lavender. Of course, all of those can be used in cooking, so this is a great way to get started if you don't already have some of these oils. But the Family Essentials and the Natural Solutions kit. All of those have several oils for you to start with in those kits. I always recommend a kit to get started. But we can also use these in not just at home, but the school that I used to work at has used the oils in their cooking as well. So the possibilities are really endless. So that's how I started using the essential oils in my cooking, was at the school. But for you, just my biggest takeaway is to don't be afraid to try something. Okay, so recap a couple of things here. So we want to make sure that we are using certified pure therapeutic grade oils so that we can consume them internally. We also want to make sure that our vessels that we're using are appropriate. So glass, ceramic, stainless steel, right? We also want to be cognizant of how we're measuring. Our best friends are toothpicks, right? You always want to start with a little less. You can always add more. And then finally, just use them, okay? So use them in your cooking, use them in your water. They're amazing, amazing things. So I hope that you found some value in this today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My contact information is in the presentation, just in case you can't read that. The most important one is Find the Oil Guy. You can find me at Find the Oil Guy, whether that is on my website at www.findtheoilguy.com, on Instagram at Find the Oil Guy, on Facebook at Find the Oil Guy, on YouTube at Find the Oil Guy. You can find me anywhere at Find the Oil Guy. And of course, if you want my direct email, it's Brandon at Find the Oil Guy. You guessed it. All right. So if you have any questions or anything, just reach out. I'd be happy to answer any questions for you, find some different resources. But all right. So that's all I have for you today. Don't forget to connect with me on social media. My name's Brandon. I'm the Oil Guy. You can find me at Find the Oil Guy. So you have a great day, and thank you so much for spending your time with me. Bye-bye now.